You're not going to get me talking about cutting the public sector or austerity or anything like that. I think there was a huge mistake made by governments from 2008 onwards who thought that the solution to the financial crisis was cutting the public sector. I think investment in an efficient public sector is the right way forward. I do also think that there are things that we are going to have to pay for. I've said before that this is the time for people to realize that we've had it too good for too long, and we're going to have to think about how we repay the way that we've had to spend in this period, which is not just the beat COVID measures, which may have cost $6.5 million in the first month or so, but also the measures that we've introduced to help businesses, which are the foregoing of PAYE and social insurance and the foregoing of rates, etc., and the lack of income for the government. So
Can you quantify that?
Not yet. We'll start to have a better idea. Remember, these things work on a monthly basis. We'll start to have a better idea. But if you look at what our revenue is per year, if you look at about 700 million a year and you divide that by 12, that's what we tend to bring in any one month, although it doesn't come in so regularly because we have a big amount coming in of corporate tax twice in different months, and that will be affected in slower order. But you can start to work out what the foregoing of income may be, and so where you might have taken 20 million instead of 35 million, you are down 15 in income, you're putting out 6 million more to pay for people in the beat COVID measures, etc. And all that starts to mount up. You're also spending more in the GHA for a good reason. Yeah. That is not expenditure that we envisaged.
Tens of millions of pounds.
Absolutely tens of millions of pounds, if not hundreds of millions of pounds, in the context of how long it's going to take us to recover as well.
Another question from Robert. The government should also consider the risks of second-hand smoke within the context of COVID. A ban on smoking in public places such as restaurant terraces when they reopen would help us all avoid exposure to second-hand smoke and keep us as COVID fit as possible. That's from Robert.
I fully agree. I think it's something to look at as we're moving more of our social life onto terraces outside of restaurants. I think we do need to consider whether those should now be considered spaces where you shouldn't smoke. I'm not going to make a decision about that, but it is something which ministers have been discussing during the course of the past week as we're looking at the expansion of restaurants into terraces. We'll need to take public health advice. I mean, on smoking, we have really moved from the beginning when we were elected on public health advice before this pandemic. But I think it is important that we do look at those issues.
Charlie says that you had previously said that you would be stepping down at the end of this term, but you've also said in recent days that the economic consequences of the shutdown will be the hardest to overcome. Is your intention still to step down after this term?
That's a question about me. It's not a question about COVID. I think we're in a situation where what the country is facing is so important that my own personal choices as to when I might wish to go might have to be put aside, and I might have to consider staying longer if my party wants me to stay longer, and if the people of Gibraltar suggest that they want me to stay longer. But I would have a very difficult conversation with my wife and a very difficult conversation with the Mirror, because this job takes it out of you. It's a huge privilege to do. I thought Brexit was hard. This has really taken the wind out of my sails in a way that nobody can imagine, and so the rest of my government colleagues. This shows you how much you have to put in. And it's a huge honour to have been able to lead the nation through this difficult period. I hope successfully. We're not out of the woods yet, but that's a question for 3.5 years from now. If Gibraltar needs me, I'll always be there.